49 Marketplace's Mitchell Hartman to run this one down.
So you're the San Francisco 49ers, and you have to go up to Seattle this weekend to play the Seahawks at CenturyLink Field. And aside from the damp, here's what you're up against. The Seahawks' so-called 12th man, that's the fans in the stands, are so loud they set Guinness World Records. They're so loud they cause tiny earthquakes.
Part of the reason for the ticket block to anyone outside of the Pacific Northwest is they want to make sure that they have as many loud partisans there as they can.
Sí, una gente pescándolo. Esos tipos yendo a la madrugada a pescar.
Built to amplify the sound and the home team advantage, adding maybe 3
Y hay bastante, está otro, ahí está otro, hay varios.
It's great publicity. It pats all the fans on the back.
Sacando
We only want you here. We don't want anyone else here.
Of course, they can't really keep 49ers fans out. Californians have heard of scalpers. Still, this is legal? Sports lawyer Kenneth Shropshire at the Wharton School mulled this over for us.
Preferences are given to season ticket holders, for example. So the idea of giving a preference to a group, because in some way it benefits the business, is law.
Gave us some tiny bit of control.
And have a say in the outcome of the proceedings on the show.
Sooner says it blends old media and new, sets the stage.
Marketplace is supported by Progressive Insurance, helping people shop for car insurance at 1-800-PROGRESSIVE and Progressive.com. And by Retail Me Not, a digital coupon marketplace for consumers to find online and in-store offers from national brands. Learn more at RetailMeNot.com. Visit the Big Book blog at marketplace.org. Listen to author interviews and read excerpts from the Marketplace bookshelf. Online at marketplace.org/thebigbook.
Marketplace from APM, I'm Connor Brisbane. Ben Johnson and I were talking about Google and its purchase of Nest up at the top of the broadcast, and how really that's a deal about big data. Maybe knowing things about our behavior almost before we're aware of them ourselves. The next frontier, higher education. Colleges and universities are looking for any enrollment
And more colleges. That makes it harder for colleges to predict if a student will actually accept an admissions offer. And this takes us to the Student Center during a welcome event this fall. The Director of Admissions, Todd Burrell, is the guy in the three-piece suit hanging out by the registration table.
We know there are students that are applying to more and more schools, but they only can select one.
Folks in the admissions business call this yield, or the percentage of kids who accept admissions offers. Like many schools, the university didn't hit its target enrollment last year. Fewer students means less revenue. So the school is using big data to step up its marketing game.
What can we do more to keep them engaged in this process and say, I want to go there?
The university buys contact information from testing companies and then sends all those kids emails. The moment a kid clicks...
Unbeknownst to them, the colleges are collecting information about everything that they do.
David Hawkins is with the National Association for College Admission Counseling. He says some schools are tracking emails, calls, campus visits, even social media interactions.
When the application is received, the college then has sort of a trove of data on the student.
Hawkins stresses that a student has to clear an institution's academic bar. And he says colleges don't want to offer up a spot to a student who isn't likely to enroll. So all that data is crunched in the search for something called demonstrated interest.
How likely you are to enroll in the institution if you're accepted. That's demonstrated interest in a nutshell.
Hawkins says mostly colleges want to see that the student has stayed in touch during the application process. But he says some go so far as to analyze the order a student lists schools on their federal aid application. The idea is that students will put their preferred schools at the top of the list. Under rising pressure to hit enrollment numbers, more schools are reaching out to consultants for help, and Hawkins says those kinds.
We had come off of a couple drought years across the United States, and so the surplus was pretty thin. And they had bid up the corn price and kind of gave the indication to us corn farmers that, hey, we need to have you guys go out and grow a big crop. And so a lot of the farmers, we're farmers first, and corn or soybean or wheat farmers second. And so we'll kind of fluctuate based on what the market's asking.
What are you yourself going to do? I mean, you've got, I think when we were out there for American Futures with Jim Fowler's, you have, 2,500 acres, which is a whole mess of corn. Are you going to turn it into soybeans or alfalfa? What are you going to do?
You know, most of us maintain the same balance of crop acres. There's a lot of guys that'll plant half corn, half soybeans in my neighborhood. And that really is a...
Keith, thanks a bunch. We'll talk soon.
Thanks so much, Kai. Appreciate it.
Honor the 8 million who died on both sides of the conflict, but without pandering to what one minister called a popular left-wing misconception of the war. The
primarily responsible for the outbreak of the war.
Professor Gary Sheffield of Wolverhampton University, he says the British government is right to say that Britain and its allies were fighting a just... I'm Stephen Beard for Marketplace.
Sustainability coverage is supported in part by the Candida Fund, furthering values that contribute to a healthy planet.
Showcase to the world. Learn how to book your off-site meeting at pgatour.com/theplayers.
Hi, I'm Warren Miller. Each week on Closing the Loop, we hear stories of how North Floridians are dealing with change, the recession and sluggish recovery, events in their families, their own health, and their career changes. Closing the Loop is personal, often surprising.
Anywhere with anybody.
And Eleanor McCullen says the law should not prevent her. I'm Steve Inskeep. A Supreme Court challenge to buffer zones on the next morning edition from NPR News. Weekday mornings beginning at 5 on 89.9 WJCT, community-supported public radio.
State John Kerry's work on a peace deal between Israel and the Palestinians. A newspaper report says the defense minister, in a private conversation, called the U.S. plan for Israeli security under that deal, quote, not worth the paper it's written on. A State Department official says if that report is accurate, that quote is offensive. White House spokesman Jay Carney.
Secretary Kerry and his team have been in the Israeli people.
While the Israeli defense minister did not deny making those comments, in a statement he said both countries work through disagreements.
Security forces say they've arrested 140 people so far, increased their resolve to cast ballots in favor of the controversial charter. They viewed as a way to saw this referendum as a way to show support for Egypt's military leadership. Voting on the draft will continue on Wednesday. For NPR News, I'm Merritt Kennedy in Cairo.
Wall Street was higher by the closing bell. The Dow Jones S&P 500 up 19. This is NPR.
The goddess last week. Before the gallery owner was arrested in Germany in 2011. He faces criminal charges in India. A month ago, a 900-year-old dancing Shiva purchased from Kapoor was also confirmed to have been stolen when Kapoor's employee Aaron Friedman pleaded guilty in a New York court to trading in stolen property. U.S. officials allege Kapoor created false papers of authenticity for the antiquities. Margot Adler, NPR News, New York.
A Malaysian woman on the U.S. no-fly list has been told she needs to be told why she is on it. U.S. District Judge William Alsop in San Francisco says Rihanna Ibrahim was not given sufficient due process in her attempt to clear her name. The U.S. no-fly list bars people from commercial air travel if they are suspected of having ties to